Meeting of March 8th, 2021. Call to order. I'm here. Mr. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Hema.
Here.
Mr. G. Lundell.
Here.
Mr. Christensen.
Here.
And Mr. Mattson.
Here.
Full house. Approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Motion's been made
I'll second it.
and seconded by, was it Glenn?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Moving along, approve the minutes, January 11th, 2021. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, open for a motion.
I so move.
Glenn makes the motion,
I'll second.
and Mr. Duncan seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appointment of a planning commission chair.
I would like to make a motion to reappoint Mike as chair.
I'll second that.
Thanks a lot, guys.
With you.
Motion's been made and seconded to continue Mr. Daniels as the planning commission chair. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? What do we got here? Public input. Anybody here this evening? Any citizens that would like to speak to an issue or anything on the agenda? Hearing none? Hearing none, we'll pass along. Public hearing opened at, 6:30, 6:31. Variance of Christensen's and Son Trucking Incorporated at 700 Cannon Industrial Boulevard. The proposed variance would allow for property visibility of a sign that is being installed in an area well below grade. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to address this issue? I'll give you 3 minutes. Anyone? First come, first serve.
My name is Danny, and I'm with Albrecht Sign Company.
Okay.
The reason that we're looking to go with a higher sign is because it's in that little ditch there off the highway, and the maximum allowed in that area is 10 feet high.
Mhm.
And if it's at 10 feet high, you really won't be able to see it very good. It won't be very good eyes, so we're just proposing to lift it up a little bit, get more eyes on it.
Somewhere around that 15-foot height?
Yep, right in that 15 foot.
Okay.
15-foot variance, 25-foot overall.
25 foot top of the sign.
Right. Yep.
Any questions, Commission? Anybody else here this evening for this particular public hearing? No? Any further discussion? No? Well, let's close the public hearing and move on to discussion items. Resolution 2021, variance of the Christensen and Son Trucking Incorporated at 700 Cannon Industrial Boulevard. Comments? Questions? Anybody? Discussion?
I don't have any problem with it. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Duncan's made a motion,
Bruce seconded.
and Bruce, Mr. Hema has seconded that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we'll move to B, defining impervious surface definition.
Thank you, guys.
What do we want to discuss with that?
Mike, in the ordinance, we have two separate areas, and you'll see those highlighted in your packet. There's kind of conflicting information there, and we would like to know how the Planning Commission stands as far as what they would like impervious surface definition to be. The first one, you'll see gravel or rock surfaces should be counted as 50% impervious. A little farther back, it gives a more defined explanation of what impervious would be, and it doesn't match up with the first explanation. Neil, do you have more input on that, being a public works guy?
Is there anything in particular that we need to address?
This is for discussion tonight.
Okay.
What we got going on is they conflict, and if you wanted to use gravel as impervious surface, according to our code, you're allowed to do that, and then you move one more page, and then you're all, as far as surfacing, it says, all areas intended to be utilized for parking space and driveways shall be surfaced with impervious surface, and you flip the page, and it goes into bituminous. So we're having people say, well, we can put gravel down if we want, or we look at this one and we say, no, you got to put blacktop down. So we kind of want to get some clarification and work through the process to make sure that when people come in and they're going to build a new building, that they get the right information.
Correct. Okay.
So,
And we do have some current questions on that with some buildings that are going up, so it would be nice to,
one example was
Good on.
Cannon Bells, the new cheese place, are going to leave theirs gravel. Well, and then we got another one coming right across the road that's called Volumetrics. They're going to put up a new building, and what do they want to do? They want
to do gravel as
They
well.
want to do gravel also because it's across the road. Now, the folks that just left here, they paved their whole parking lot. So we need to be consistent without, because, somebody may want to come in and do gravel where they really should be doing blacktop. And one of the things to look at is your stormwater management plan also, is when you're dragging rock around and it's running down your storm drains. That really should be blacktopped, but we're conflicting in here, and some of the folks are getting by with gravel. Well, when you get gully washers, you know what happens. That stuff ends up filling in your stormwater ponds and tracking out in the streets and whatnot. So what I would suggest, we don't have to decide tonight by any means, but I would like you to review the information that you got in front of you, and we can talk about it at the next meeting. But we should get them to match.
I guess without doing a little bit more research on this, I can see a difference between a large corporate parking lot as opposed to a commercial business that's nothing more than a approach. There's going to be a huge cost difference.
Oh, yeah.
Take the one we had the public hearing for tonight, Christensen's. I mean, that's all gravel out. Well, it's not all gravel, but a great deal of it is. So how would we define that?
They paved theirs.
What,
Yeah, they paved it all.
Yeah.
since this morning?
No, they've got it all figured.
No, a lot of it's gravel. I know there's concrete running down where it dollies down, but the rest of that's all gravel. When you come into the business, there's a substantial amount of bituminous. But the back lot there to the north, that's still all gravel, class 5.
The north lot.
Pretty much the whole north half.
I tend to wonder about runoff. When you've got gravel, it's sinking in. When you've got paved, you've got oil or grease runoff.
Runoff.
That, and typically you need a storm scepter or something like that. to pick up
Right.
that.
A settlement
I
pond.
think it's, so we don't have that running into our stream and whatnot, but
Has Public Works been involved with any of this?
Not yet. I know their opinions without filling up their stormwater ponds. You know, once we take them over, it's our job to clean them out once they get filled up.
Right,
And they don't fill up as fast when you got bituminous.
bituminous, yeah. Well, not with lime and sediment, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe other articles.
Right.
There isn't any storm sewers out there, is there? Or are they,
If you look, and we'll just use Cannonbells as an example. They have one really small one. You can't hardly even see it to be on the industrial side, not on Holiday, but the industrial road.
okay,
Boulevard, yeah.
Boulevard, yeah. And it's long and narrow. And if you look at it, it's kind of hard to see, but that's what they needed to put in to cover that lot.
oh,
Yeah, they do their own. And now when Volumetrics builds theirs, they'll have to put in their own little, it'll be small, but it's just, what you got to do is you got to hold back the water the same as before. So any impervious surface that you have to hold that water for as long as it was when it was pervious.
okay.
So,
While to me, impervious means blacktop or cement, and I think that's what should be eventually when we get done with this. You know, the gravel, I understand the cost factors involved there, but we know, like with Karsten, that we just, you know, those trucks, big trucks, you don't want them on that gravel. You want them on
Because they're going to
impervious.
drag it out in the public roads. Going to have to
Exactly.
clean it.
Right, right.
And we
so-
also have the sediment issues in
Yeah.
the drain
Yeah.
pipe.
Does the city engineer have to approve these parking areas? Right?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what's, I would depend a lot on the city engineer on what they would say about the specific, you know, where the parking area is. Some areas are subject to more water erosion problems than others. And you'd also be able to tie it in with what the city system already can handle, if it looks like it's gonna be an issue. I mean, if it's better to go, you know, with tar or concrete than gravel, he would be a big influence on that.
Right. But I think as a general policy, we would like to set it one way. If there are unusual circumstances, then maybe we can look at a variance to deal with that situation, but it'd be easier for people coming in going, okay, yeah, I know I've got to do this.
Would size of parking area then be a variable that you'd want to include? I mean, if somebody's going to have a parking lot for 50 people, it's going to be different than a parking lot for 10 cars. And we already have.
And I think our engineer would be able to tell us.
That's what I would count on the engineer to help us out with.
Usually in our zoning codes, the zoning codes are wrote according to the zones, not so much the size. I mean, if you, the codes are wrote according to the zones, the zoning.
Zone.
Yeah.
Zoning for that.
If you go by size, you're going to really have a lengthy ordinance, and we already have a pretty lengthy ordinance, yeah.
Well, there's also the issue of dust, which,
What's that?
I say there's also the issue with dust with the gravel.
There always is,
Yeah.
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 Right, and will they spray it down, that kind of thing to keep-
Chloride, and yes, it keeps the dust down, but when the water comes, it makes it 10 times as wet, so now you got mud that's get dragged out onto the highway.
Right.
Yeah.
We got, then as a city, we got that extra cost of cleaning the roads a little more.
Well, I guess we could further research this, but as far as I am at this point, I'd say let's go with the bituminous and the concrete. It just
Yeah.
gets to be too much of it, especially in the new industrial park. You know,
What's
if it keeps going on with this gravel we're going to have a larger issue.
Yeah.
Right. We can't do anything about the ones that have already
No,
done
that'd
it,
be grandfathered in, correct?
grandfathered in, but like with the Cannon Bells, but if we can get something done before Volumetrics finalizes their stuff.
We're getting pretty much past that already.
Yeah, we're getting
Okay.
pretty tight.
Well, but for
yeah.
future ones.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
good.
that could be a real issue there because of their height in accordance to the street and the curb with that downhill. That could be a big problem.
Yeah.
So if you just take a look at it, and we'll keep it on the unfinished business for next meeting.
Are there other surfaces that maybe I'm just not aware of that besides concrete and tar, are there other surfaces that can be laid that?
Paving stones,
Yeah,
if you can afford them.
Different materials that they use now to make the parking areas. I'd have to ask an engineer what
Yeah.
things that they have for options, you know.
Usually it's either bituminous, concrete, or gravel is a 99%.
So those are the only three.
There are only three you'll normally see.
In Minnesota.
Yeah.
Increase law.
Well, right, because,
You
yeah,
can get other parts of the company that have concrete that water goes through.
right.
I was just curious. Paving stones, huh?
I think we'd want to keep it pretty basic. If you want to spend more money, because obviously the bituminous and the concrete would be the cheapest.
Well, we used to have brick, you know, but.
Yeah, I put them down. I don't think many people can afford them. There's a
I
lot.
was just curious what what.
Let's move along to C then. A little discussion on maximum sign heights in I-2 and
Oops.
I-2 district.
Should have been
I1 and
I2.
I2.
Oh, I got to put my other glasses on.
No, it's,
Oh, it says.
I'd like to see those raised to match the maximum sign heights in the B1 and the B2, which are now at 25 feet. And in the I1 and I2, they're in 10 feet maximum. I think 25 feet across the board would be a lot more workable for most people.
again, a lot more simple, and if for some reason we need a variance, some
Yep.
special reason, we can always still do that.
Yeah.
Makes sense to keep it simple. If there's a hardship that comes along, well, you just address it as it appears.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is this,
Primarily dealing with height here, is that your biggest concern?
Yes. Yeah.
So, okay.
just this is another issue up for discussion
Another
at a later
discussion
date?
item. Yep.
Okay. Okay, we'll research that. Any other discussion by the commission this evening?
So do you want like a motion on that? Should we make a motion and?
Yeah.
We can use it. We can move this to the next meeting and deal with both of them at the same time.
Okay,
If we're going to change one or change both of them, then we can bring it all at once to the council.
So do that in April.
Do you want to consider illumination with sign height?
What's that?
Illuminate, how they're illuminated?
That's a completely different part of the ordinance that kind of falls under something different. I mean, the sign ordinance itself is actually pretty lengthy and it covers a lot of different things. I'd prefer not to include that in with this. I would just like to include the height if we could. Yeah.
Find a starting point and go from there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Address each
Yeah.
issue? No further discussion, motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Motion's been made by Mr. Duncan to adjourn. Is there a
a
second?
second?
Glenn made the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?